You know, well, I was once asked to give a talk to a group of high school students in Colorado, and they get to pick the theme they want you to speak about. And this being high school, they asked me to talk about sex, drugs, and international relations. And that was the custom at this school. And I thought, oh, geez, how am I going to tie all those three together? At the last minute, it dawned on me. This is the reason most people are here in the United States, is because of drugs. And the reason is this. When Columbus set sail, looking for a shortcut to the Indies, to India, he was looking for spices. Right? Gold as well, but spices. That was the real profitable thing back then. And it wasn't just because the food in Europe tasted so god-awful without preservation and refrigeration, etc. It was also that each of these new spices was considered very exotic and had all kinds of special properties, specifically aphrodisiacs. So when you talk about chocolate and cinnamon and clove and coffee, every new thing that came down the line, they thought, oh wow, this will put some lead in your pencil. And when you think about it, the drug crops that were the reason for the transatlantic trade, and also using the slave trade, the triangular trade to grow these crops, these were drug crops. Well, the spice is number one. So the reason so many people of European ancestry are here in the United States is because a bunch of old white men in Europe couldn't get it up. There's your sex, drugs, and international relations. But when you think about the colonial economies, they were trafficking in different types of drugs, whether it's sugar, rum, tobacco, coffee, tea. These were the big economic drivers of those centuries. And so they were tremendously profitable. They built huge fortunes. That, in addition to the slave trade and to the plundering of gold and silver and other precious metals, these were the things that drove the global economy. The question comes back to why. Why do so many people in the United States self-medicate? And people will always use mind-altering substances. Right? Going back to human history, as soon as humans learned to domesticate grain, right, fermentation came right afterwards. We've never been far removed from wanting to alter our consciousness in some way or another. But other societies have found different ways to ritualize or to incorporate these substances, including very powerful hallucinogens and other types of drugs, and use it in ways that are integrated, where there's very little evidence of abuse. So they had sacred control, they have different sets and settings, and we tend to take these things, as we take all sorts of things in the United States, out of context to exploit and use in ways that are divorced from their original situation. And when I travel and meet with indigenous societies around the world, I'm always fascinated by them because first of all, what does it take to build a healthy society? And how do you balance all the different things that it takes to build a healthy society and a healthy individual? And yet they also use very powerful drugs very often. And so when I think about the contrast between traditional societies and modernity, it really puts a focus on the world that I live in. So that there are all kinds of things we take for granted in this culture. We look around and we see a world that we've constructed of concrete, steel, petroleum, silicon. We think this is normal. This was always meant to be this way. It could only have been this way. And yet, these are all products of choices that we've made as a society. Modernity was not destined to be this. We chose it, or we gave up our right to choose, and we let market forces run amok. But for whatever reason, we see all this around us and we think this is normal. But in fact, it's an experiment. And all the early data tells us this is not a sustainable experiment.